Hi, Kelly. How are you today?
Good, Megan. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. So here we are. I'm just going to give people a little idea of what's going on here. So I am Megan Holmes. I am here actually in the middle of my store at the Needlepoint Clubhouse here in St. Louis, Missouri. Well, suburban St. Louis, Missouri, actually. And myself and my pal, Melissa MacLeod at the Wool and the Floss, do this video podcast. So for those of you who are just stumbling upon this for the first time, we've been doing this for, I guess, going on, I think 2 years now, which is
2 years, I think. Yeah.
Insane. Yeah. Yes. But every week we try to find interesting and fun topics to help people in the needlepoint community learn a little bit more about their craft. And so I am so fortunate today to have Kelly Boverman. That's the right way to say it, right, Kelly? I didn't ask.
Yeah. No, Kelly, you got it right.
Okay, good. Kelly is coming to us from Portland, Oregon, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And this is the first time I've ever interviewed someone who has a craft within a craft. And I know our craft, but I know nothing about your craft. So your specific craft. So I am really excited to learn more. So first of all, let's do this. You have very perfectly centered yourself right beside the name of your business. So tell me the name. Exactly. So I need to know more about this because I love that your last name is Boverman and that the name of your business is Verre. So tell me a little bit about that.
How perfect is that? Well, when I was deciding to do this business, to start it, and because I've been doing fuse glass for a while, I was like, I need a name. And for whatever reason, I just thought of the word verre in French. I knew that meant glass. I don't know French at all. I just know like a handful of words.
Just happened to know the perfect word.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's in my name. And I'm like, Beau, doesn't that mean like pretty or beautiful? And I'm like, Beau Verre. Oh my God, Boverman. Like, and to be honest, I feel a little silly sometimes using it because I don't want to sound like conceited, like, oh, beautiful glass, like, but it just fell into my lap. And how could I not use that name?
It's the most perfect name. And I don't think you should feel like it's too conceited at all because glass art, in my opinion, is actually very beautiful. So whether or not you're describing your own art, which you should be, or just glass art in general is a very, very cool thing. And it's very pretty. So first, so we should tell people. So for anyone who doesn't know Kelly or her business, because honestly, Kelly, you're I think it's fair to say rather new into the needlepoint scene.
I am. Yes.
Okay.
No, totally fair.
So for people who have not heard of your business, what we're talking about is Kelly's fused glass needle minders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, and I'm sitting here in my shop right by my needle minder. We call this sort of the Great Wall of needle minders. And I've perfectly placed a few here, which we'll get to in a little while. But so why don't you start us off by telling us, how did you get into fused glass? How about that?
Well, it was probably about, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I have to think back, I go, oh, I don't remember what year that was, but I remember how old my kids were. And
yes.
My youngest was about 3, I think, and he's now 18 going on 19. So somewhere in that 15 to 16 years ago range. I just took some classes at a local glass studio and made some pendants and really fell in love with it. I got myself just a handful of tools and some little sheets of glass. The smallest that they come is 10 by 10. So I got just a little variety of colors and was making some things, and I would bring them over to the studio to be fired. And one thing led to another. I started selling some pendants and was earning a little money. I was able to buy myself like a small kiln and just gradually, built up from there.
So when you say pendant, I just want to clarify. I think I know what you're talking about. You mean like a necklace pendant, correct?
Like a necklace pendant. Yep.
Okay. Great. So I'm also thinking sometimes people might hang something like that, like in a window. That's why I was wanting to clarify pendant.
Pendant, like a sun catcher or something, let the light shine through.
So your intention was to do jewelry maybe at the beginning. Is that right?
And there most people tend to start off with jewelry or small plates. After I kind of dabbled with that, I did start making some garden art that's real cute to glue on garden stakes. And I am actually going to be in a little sale next weekend selling some of my garden art.
So I honestly think that may have been, I'm trying to remember how I was originally introduced to your artwork. I think it may have been either Corey at
Northwest
Needlepoint, or did Deb at Stitcher's Garden start carrying some of your glass minders?
She did. Yes,
Okay.
she did. She was one of the first people to carry them. Yeah.
Oh, I hate to say this because I shouldn't even admit it, but I sort of live and breathe on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that probably somehow I saw these glass needle minders. And, you know, those of us who have a craft like you, like I'm trying to explain, you have two crafts in my opinion, you kind of get into it. Like you said, you collect, you get the glass and then you get the kiln and you start to collect all the doodads that go along with it. Right. And so as a business owner, we're always trying to think of what's the latest and greatest, what's the new, what's the fun, fresh thing that's going to kind of inject a little life into our craft. So I remember seeing that and going, ooh, those are different. Those are unique. I love these. I want to know more. So then I think I started following you on Instagram. And shortly after that, then you were kind of showing someone had encouraged you to create some glass art for their garden. And so I guess for perspective, so this piece here is what, like maybe a one.
I bet it's an inch by an inch and a half or an inch and a quarter, something like that.
Garden piece is more like a plate, like probably like dinner plate size, right? Like a 12-inch, or is it more?
They're a little bit smaller. I have a couple I could show you.
Oh, I'd love to see if you've got one right there.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, grab it.
Right here. So here's a cute little bug.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't he cute? So
I love that.
He's probably 5 across and maybe 7 or 8 tall.
And then he's got little wire antenna.
Yes, he does.
Oh my gosh.
And this
and then a bird.
Yeah.
I love that. And so what you said is you attach that to a stake that would then go in your garden. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I see.
So back in the day, I used to just glue the garden stake right on to the back of the glass.
Sure.
But my older son, who is an engineering student at the Oregon State University, he 3D printed me these garden stake holders. So the garden stake will just flip right into there, and it can just sit in your garden. And quite honestly, these, and I know that I'm in the, Oregon, we don't get the horrendous winters like the Midwest does, but we do occasionally, we'll get a snowstorm or an ice storm. And my pieces have just like lived in my garden like year round. I don't put them away. They're totally sturdy, totally durable. But I just thought if somebody did want to put this away for the winter, this makes it easy.
No kidding. They can kind of they can have the stake there, or sorry, we're not talking needlepoint, but you could change them out, right?
Change them out. Yes. Because I
like
have
if it was
made
4th of July or oh, how fun. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So my guess is that you're going to some sort of a craft fair, or is that?
It's actually a garden fair put on by a local neighborhood garden club, and they're going to have different plant vendors and things like that.
Oh, that's so fun. So people didn't come here to hear about the garden club. I'm sorry. I'm just very interested.
Sorry, I know we got distracted.
No, I love it. That's just what I do. I'm kind of all over the place. So, but anyway, so back to, so you began doing this fused glass art. You started doing pendants and then some larger pieces like the garden art.
Yes.
And then talk about how did those two worlds kind of combine? So were you a needle pointer and also a glass artist? And then you all of a sudden kind of saw, I'm going to let you tell the story, but you know where I'm going.
I do. Okay. So I've actually been doing needlepoint stitching longer than doing glass. I forget like when I started, but I always remember that I was working on my beginner project while Tara Lipinski won her gold medal. So that's been a while. So.
It was drama. Was that the year when Nancy Kerrigan, that was that whole drama thing?
I think that was it? I think it was just after Oh my God, I forget.
I'm putting you on the spot. I don't know either, but I'm
Yeah.
just thinking like, man, you needed some needlepoint because that was drama.
That was drama. Right. Yeah.
So when was that? Okay, I'm not going to be able to date that back.
So I think it was the late 90s.
Okay.
The late 90s. And then, maybe 5 years later, I started doing fused glass.
So back to your needlepoint, because, again, I want to tease this out a little bit. So did you teach yourself? Was someone in your family a needlepointer? How does that go?
Well, back in I did teach myself how to cross stitch and do some embroidery. But they were just like the one-off projects. It really didn't become a true addiction until I picked up needlepoint. And it's funny because I was at a local, I'm not going to call it a strip mall, but a shopping center.
Sure.
And I saw this shop and I walked in and I was like, oh, is this cross stitch? And the gal was like, no, honey, it's needlepoint. It's half the work. And I'm like, oh my God, is there a class?
Sign me up.
And then it was like, did not look back. Yeah.
Oh, great. So you're thinking, so you've probably been stitching then for 30 years?
20 something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why I did that to you, because the math sometimes reminds myself how old I am. And I'm like, that's not,
I know, right?
I've been doing that for that long. Exactly. But so anyhow, so you had needlepoint before you had the glass, and then
the glass.
So go ahead.
And then just a real quick, I actually worked at that glass studio that I took the classes at. I taught some glass classes, beginning classes. We also hosted a lot of parties, like either birthday parties for kids. They would make sun catchers. We also did like girls' nights out. Those are fun. And it was a real good time, and I learned more. So that was excellent. And then it was probably 2014. I started working at the needlepoint store in stitches, and taught classes there too. So, and it closed in July of 2020. So pretty sad about that. But it was a few years into my time working there, and I was only working a couple of days a week. And I thought, well, what else could I do to earn a little extra money? Maybe I could make needle minders. Well, what am I going to make them out of? And I thought, well, fused glass. I wonder if that would work. So I just took some of my pendants that I had on hand. I looked up where to get magnets. I bought different ones, different sizes, different strengths. Glass can be a pretty thick material. So I had to make sure that these magnets were going to be strong enough to work through the glass. So I bought a bunch of different sizes, a bunch of different strengths, and I had all my my shop friends product test them for me.
Test them out. Sure. Smart.
Yeah. And so I just started selling them in the shop. Lynn Hart, the owner, allowed me to do that, and that was great. They were pretty popular. But I really wasn't sure, like, if it was just the customers that knew me, that liked me, that wanted to support me.
You.
Yep. And so when the shop closed, and in fact, back then, I didn't even call it Verre art. It was just me selling them at the shop,
That clever genius hadn't hit you yet, huh?
No. So when the shop closed, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I want to stay in the needlepoint world. I just love it. It's right. And then I knew I was going to miss it. So I thought, well, I wonder if I could sell these wholesale to other shops. And so one thing led to another. I got a website, and, just taking little baby steps, trying to get there.
Well, girl, I think you've gotten there. So I just was sitting here fidgeting because I had one of my favorites, which is this evil eye. But I pulled it out because I wanted to show people. I think we're using a neodymium. Isn't that how it's called? The neodymium magnet. Yeah. It's the super strong, which it's like so strong it's kind of hard to pull apart, and so strong it'll like take your finger off. But
yes,
these stitchers want these super strong. Nobody wants a weak magnet needle minder.
No.
So can I ask another question real quick? So I think in a little bit, we're going to get a little further down the path of like kind of the construction of these things. But so is this glued on here or is it fused on here, the backing part?
No, it's just glued on.
Glued.
It's glued
Okay.
on.
All right.
Yeah. I just use E6000.
It's so clean though. You must have a process that keeps that like super, I don't know, but it just looks so nice.
I've gotten to the point I kind of know how much to put on, and when I squeeze that magnet on, some scooches out, but
right. That easy.
Like it up. Yeah.
Yeah, that glue is kind of nice to work with actually. It's kind of trainable, right?
Yeah, right.
So what I mean, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to go next. But so you are you're in the needlepoint shop. You are you decide to do this. And so how was the first way that you kind of started to network yourself? I mean, so is Corey kind of in your backyard at Northwest or?
Yeah, he's just in the next town down. He's in Lake Oswego,
okay,
Oregon. Yeah, he's very close.
And so was that kind of your first like, oh, maybe I'll just go down there and see if he wants to buy them, or were you? How does that feel? Because it's kind of it's very humbling to walk in and say, hey, I want to sell you something.
It is, and it was. So I just went in. Our shop closed, and a few weeks later, I went in just to say hello, and he was like, "Hey, when are you gonna bring me some needle minders?" I was like, "Oh, you want some?"
So he knew about it. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So then my guess is he was kind of your
very lucky.
He was kind of your first stockist, if you will.
He
right?
was absolutely my first client. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Customer.
And then from there.
And then who was my next one?
Yeah, just curious.
Oh my goodness. No, okay. No, thank you for asking. Let me think.
So you had your website then and your Instagram. By the way, look at how amazing this is. So thick.
Right. Oh my God, look at that. Yeah.
Good work.
Awesome.
I was playing with it, but I'm like, this is perfect. This is great.
Yes. Those magnets come like with a little spacer in between. Yes. And when those spacers just slide out, it can like pinch your skin.
They're dangerous. So you started, so you went to Corey, did you have to kind of continue to sort of like hit the bricks and hit the pavement a little bit?
I did. I made some phone calls. I just sent out some samples to some people. And to be honest, some were very receptive, like right away, they were interested, and, some were not. Like you were pointing out earlier, I'm very new in the needlepoint world, and they didn't know me from anybody else. And so I couldn't blame them. They didn't really know my product or know how good it was. I think a lot of people probably have this misconception about glass. They hear the word glass and they think, oh my God, it's going to be so delicate, it's going to break. And honestly, I mean, fused glass is very strong and very durable just by nature. Certainly when we're stitching, regionally indoors,
Hang on one second. You can hear me. You broke up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Oh.
Broke up a little bit. So by the way, I'm just going to tell people, poor Kelly, I asked her if she'd go in her studio because I thought it'd be really cool to see. And she's in her garage, which is her studio, which is wonderful. And we'll get there in a second, but her Wi-Fi is a little spotty. So I just want you to back up for one sec because you're back at it. So back up. You were saying, typically we're stitching in an environment that's,
indoors.
Yeah, great.
Right. So we're stitching in a carpeted room with hardwood floors or whatnot. So if you happen to drop your meter, most of the time it's probably going to be okay.
I'm going to tell you go ahead.
I have a machine here, and it's a grinder where I grind the edges, and you need water to keep the glass cool and to keep the glass dust down. And every once in a while, one will slip out of my hands, and I'm like, oh no. And I pick it up and it's just fine. And it landed on my cement floor in the garage. So 9 times out of 10, they'll be okay. But if it hits on a corner or something like that, it could chip or could break.
Well, so
on
it's
cement.
I want to get a little bit more into the actual glass because I that's what I'm interested in is this whole process and what the glass looks like and how it feels and all. But so we're getting ready for this and I'm moving because we have these kind of all over and I'm moving them. I dropped 2 of them and I was like, oh shoot, I'm sure I broke it.
Yes.
We have a cement, we have like oh, like that floating wood floor, whatever, over cement.
yeah.
And one of them I dropped really hard and I think it was Frankenstein. Frankenstein made it through a pretty Frankenstein.
He's one of my favorites. Look at him. He's so cute.
I dropped Frankenstein and I think it was this rainbow. I dropped them both pretty hard and they both survived. And so I was about to drop this one, but I didn't. But anyway, so to your point, people were probably thinking, I don't know if I want glass needle minders that,
Right.
like they're going to be delicate and, but some people took a chance and I'm sure they are glad that they did.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful they did. Yes.
Of course you are. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit more of this. And I don't know. So we kind of discussed 2 different kind of camera angles. So if we start talking a little bit about the process or the materials, are you going to have to switch cameras or are you able to do that from where you're sitting?
No, I should probably move the camera.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So hang tight, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back with a different camera angle and it's going to look seamless to our viewers, but just so you know, we had just about a 1-minute delay. So we are back with this new camera angle, which I'm super excited about. So you can't hear Kelly, you can hear her, but but we can hear you just fine. And so what she's got here is a whole grouping of different types of processes. Is that how you'd say that, Kelly?
I think that's a good word for it. Yeah, different styles or techniques of glass. Yeah.
So I happen to have a few of them here in front of me too. So why don't we start at the top of your little platter of beauty there?
Okay.
And so on the top left, I'm getting a little reflection. If you right there, we're getting some. There you go. Now we can see it though. So talk about talk me through that. So is that one piece of glass? Is that multiple pieces of glass? How are you handling that?
Oh, right. So glass fusion, glass fusing is just a process of taking 2 or more sheets of glass and fusing it together at a really high temperature so that it becomes one piece.
Okay.
And so all of these are 2 layers of glass.
So what colors is that there? Or is it just 2 layers of clear or white or when you say 2 layers?
So if most of the time, if you just kind of tip can you see that? Yeah. So this one, I just started with a sheet of white glass. And then what I did was I used some glass paint. Yeah.
Is that what was behind you? That beautiful rainbow of color behind you a minute ago?
No, that's glass frit, and frit is just crushed up glass. And
okay, so sorry, I'm getting ahead of you. Go ahead.
Okay, I know. Okay. So glass comes in lots of different what I'm blanking on the word, types. There's sheet glass, and that's literally just a sheet of glass, right? This is just a scrap I have nearby, but it's a flat piece.
Okay.
And it comes in a couple different thicknesses, 3 millimeter or 2 millimeter.
Okay.
Glass also comes as frit, and that is just crushed up glass, and it comes in different sizes. So this is coarse, and then there's medium, and fine, and actually glass powder.
Oh my God.
So you have to wear a respirator when you're working with the glass powder. Yeah.
Just the powder, not all the glass.
No, just the powder. Anything that's fine that can come up in the air, you don't want to be breathing that.
Okay.
Glass also comes as stringer. And stringer is really, if you think of just the lead and a pencil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that must be how you get some of those bendy, like long kind of branch style things. Is that right?
Yeah, totally, totally. So like the little stem on the topiary is a stringer. The fun thing in the stalks here and these flowers are stringer. The fun thing about stringer is you can bend it over a flame. So if you actually like were a torch worker, like if you made glass beads or something, you can bend it on the torch. I don't have that. I have taken torch classes, but a simple candle will work. You just you just hold the stringer over the flame and you can bend it. So the stringer here and also the little tendrils for the jack-o'-lantern is bent stringer. Yeah.
I'm touching it because I have one here and it definitely is sitting on top. So can I ask, okay, so let's take the jack-o'-lantern, for example, because I've got one. So the black on the bottom is one layer of that sheet.
Yes.
And then how do you get the stripes? Do you have to lay that down as a second layer?
Yes, yes. So I have to cut those strips and then lay them on top and then they get fired. Yeah, I'm just trying to think like I'm actually, the other thing.
So then the pumpkin, is he kind of like a little like cookie cutter punch out kind of thing?
No, he's not. I have to hand cut him.
Holy moly. So these are truly, each one of these is truly an individual, unique, one of a kind piece.
Yes, yes. Now, even if I tried to make them exactly the same, they are not going to be. Each one is truly one of a kind. Yeah.
So cool. And then this thing, so is this part of that like stick? You know, you just showed us the
brown part.
Or is he kind of cut out too?
It's just a little teeny tiny piece of brown glass. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, okay. So this guy is like kind of all layered up with all those things. But then I have another one in front of me here, which I think is kind of like the pumpkin in the bottom left. So I have this bat.
Yes. You know what? That one is so cool. I think it's I don't have one with me here, but it's a couple layers, right? Is it like a layer of clear and a layer of that streaky gray?
Well, it's super smooth on top. So that's what I was going to ask you. Is there something between the two pieces or how does that work?
So that my son, who is a freshman at the University of Oregon, attended a magnet school for art. And so I had him hand paint that moon and the bats with the glass paint.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that does lie flat.
Is it on top of the black? I'm confused. No,
it's on. I think it's. Now I forget like the process of that one. It's either right on top or it was sandwiched between the clear and that streaky gray.
Oh, cool. So is that similar to that one you have down there in the bottom left, the pumpkin?
This pumpkin, no, this pumpkin is cut out just with like a stamp and it's silver foil. And yeah, and the cool thing about the silver foil is that it reacts to some glass colors of glass that have sulfur in them. There's a reaction, and so that's how you get those crazy like little lines. I love reactions. Can you see this one pretty good? Yeah. That's like a ton of different reactions happening. I just love reactions. And in between different colors too, like the French vanilla frit. This is large frit on the outside next to some glass murini. And murinis are just kind of like thicker. They're almost like pencils. Yeah, and you just use glass nippers and cut them to whatever size or whatever thickness you want. And so whatever is in the blue colors, which I think is copper perhaps, is reacting to the sulfur base of the French vanilla. And so that's why you get that dark line like in between.
Way cool. And so it sort of automatically happens with science. You don't even have to do any artwork for that.
No, I know. And so sometimes you want those reactions. I love them. and other times you have to really think, okay, well, like if I don't want that, I have to be careful to not put those colors together.
So you're basically creating like tiny little pieces of art on a little palette, a tiny little glass palette. So how
Thank you.
small, well, yeah. And I'm also just trying to get to the bottom of this. So how large, like how small can you really go? I mean, is there kind of like is there a
You
point
know,
it gets too weak to be fired?
no, oh no. As a matter of fact, I feel like I'm gonna switch in gears here, but I make frit balls, so like the little circles that are in there
Yes.
and the one here. What you can do is just take your coarse frit, or you can cut up glass
Oh, yeah.
and fire it really hot to like 1500 degrees. Hold it for like 15 to 20 minutes. And the fun thing is that the glass then pulls up into itself and forms these little
Oh.
balls, which look like, candies or something.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I think you should
Yeah.
like fuse a whole chunk of those together and it would look like sprinkles.
Oh, I should make some that look like that dot candy, that you pick off from the
Yes.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
cute. Well, that's kind of what that little rainbow dots look like there. But I see what you're
That's,
saying because those are smooth. And
those
so
are smooth.
yeah,
Mhm.
I just feel like there's a million ways you can go on this. It's
There
so
are a million ways. So depending upon how you build it up, and then even how you fire it. So if you were to fire it hotter, say to like 1450 degrees or 1490,
Mhm.
all of the glass that you build up is gonna like melt down into like one flat surface. So that's why that one's flat. That's why this one is flat. This one I hand painted the gold tree and then added medium and fine frit for the leaves, and that just fired flat. But like the topiary is also made with frit, but I didn't fire that one as hot, so it maintains some of that texture.
So
I don't know
talk
if you can see it,
about,
it's kind of raised up.
yeah, it's awesome. So let's talk about, so you sit down at your workbench, you
Yep.
cut, do you sit down with like an idea in mind? Do you cut a whole bunch that are going to be sort of the same design and do those all in one day, or does that boring, or sort of what's the process?
Wow, I do a bunch of different processes.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll go, oh wow, I'm getting really low on something like
Polka
these.
dots or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
polka
Mhm.
dots. Yeah. And I'll come out. The polka dot one, let me think. I wonder if I have a sample here. How about okay, oh, this guy. Okay, this guy's very similar, but
Mhm.
instead of making the frit balls, these are called encased stringers. And I actually handmade these ones on a torch. I went to Bullseye Glass, and I'm very, very, very fortunate to live in Portland, where the Bullseye has their glass factory. So I can just zip right
Oh,
over there, and they teach classes. And they're a wonderful resource for me. If I ever have a question, I'm like, something's not turning out, they'll help me.
wow.
Yeah. So I hand make those on the torch. And then what I do is I'll usually take the base glass and I'll add them on top and fire it
Oh,
flat.
uh-huh.
Yeah. And then I come back and then I go, all right, well, I have this piece here. Where do I want to cut it?
Got
And I'll
you.
go, oh yeah, that one, that might work.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So sometimes the glass is wasted. Other times it just turns out perfectly that I'm like, oh yeah, that's okay. What if
You
I
cut
cut it in
that
half?
with what? Like a isn't a power
Oh
kind of tool? How do you cut
no.
that piece there?
So I just have, this is a glass cutter. It just has a little,
Oh, it's
I forget
neat.
what they call that tip, but I run it along the glass. I'll take that like scrap that I had nearby.
So it's like, is it
Usually,
like a heated element at the oh, and you've got a straight edge. I see. Okay.
yeah. So I'll just, hold it down here at the edge, try to keep the edges straight. I also have some little tools. If I was gonna cut a bunch of bases to like here's a bunch that I've already cut
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
ground the edges on that I can like build up on. I'll go, oh yeah, that's the right width. I'll measure that and go, yep, that's right where I want to cut it. I hold the cutter straight, and then I grab my running pliers and line up this black line to the score line. I don't know if you can see that, and just give a little nip, and there you go.
Nice. And then you take that over to, you explained you have a grinder that then you soften the edges kind of, right?
Oh, yes. Because then glass is not like kind. I don't know if you can see my fingertips.
Or fingers
like,
are
I
all
won't I won't be stitching with neon rays for a while. So,
I understand. I was wondering if you wore gloves at all, but probably that would impede your ability to get those minute details.
Exactly. And you can also cut like some curves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So let's see. So sometimes it doesn't always run like right where you want it to. So if that happens, I can either grab my Grosse pliers and just nip that off.
Kelly,
and then
you're making a wine bottle. That's where my brain goes. Do you see that?
Yeah, yes, I see. It's half a wine bottle. Right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And I also have like another, like these are just like, these are running pliers, but these ones are much more heavy duty. And so if I have to cut something like really thick, like something that's already been fired, that's possibly, 6 millimeters or more, these won't do it. So I have to use these heavy duty guys.
I'm just absolutely amazed at the amount of time and thought that goes into all of this. I don't know how you keep these prices so reasonable.
I'm not making money, it's I wanted them to be accessible. I wanted people to buy them, to fall in love with them, to love using them, to know that I really did put my heart and soul into these. I'm not making a ton of money.
They're so beautiful. And it's just amazing, all the pieces. So I want to point out to some people that Kelly may or may not take special requests, because that little champagne bottle up there on the top, I think I was like,
that was you. That was you.
Would you consider maybe making a champagne bottle? Because it's one of my favorite things. And she did. That's before we even knew each other. I just kind of but yeah. I love those, and I think it's darling. So my guess is that the inspiration comes from either suggestions or pieces of nature. I also know I want to mention that, and you can talk more about this, you're doing a special minder for Ukraine support. Am I right?
Oh, yes, yes.
And I put in an order for some of those, but they're really beautiful, and they have kind of the essence of the flag behind them and a sunflower on top. Is that right or no?
That is right. That is right. In fact, I have the big batch of orders in the kiln right now, and they're finally finished. I could show, and I could also, when I was making them, I thought I had used up all my bases, but when I was cleaning up, I found one more base. And so I was like, oh no. But then it's like, well, this is going to work out perfect, because I could kind of just quick show how I kind of cut them. So I found a gal who, she makes these murinis. You need a special kiln to do this. It's called a vitrograph kiln. Wow. And inside you have a pot, probably like a terracotta pot, and you lay up the glass in the pot. It heats up and it melts out of the hole in the pot and through a hole in the kiln, and it comes down like in this shape. And then she needs to anneal it. She has to put it in her kiln and anneal it. And all that means is like cooling it down slowly so the glass doesn't thermal shock, so it doesn't break. And so it stays strong. And so to cut these murinis, you just use these like tile nippers, like people who work with like mosaics or whatnot. And they tend to go flying. So I usually will get a towel or something. I kind of measure how big I think I want it, tuck it in my towel, give a nip, and there you go.
So each one of those flowers is trimmed off of that piece. That is incredible to me.
Yeah. So I like to use like a couple different sizes to make it look like, oh, I don't know, maybe a little bit more realistic. Not all flowers are the same size. So like do that. And then I'll pull out like the small one, measure it, cut it, and I'll put those on the side. So I built these up with like 4 flowers. And they don't always like cut like perfect, you know, sometimes the nippers slip and I'll get one that's just a half, or maybe it's too thick and I even need to grind it down.
So is that intended to look like the petal? Is that the one you're doing there?
Yeah, so that's like a little leaf. Yeah.
Got it.
And one more.
So that's differently shaped at the end. It's not round. It's probably
no, it's pointed. Yeah,
okay.
It's pretty cool. And whoops. And so normally, like I wouldn't be using my fingertips. I'll probably have to go back and clean these, but you want to, the thing about glass is you got to keep it clean. So after I cut the bases and grind them, you really have to clean them, get all the oils, get all the dirt off, because if it fires with that, it's going to be left behind. So like any fingerprints or whatever, it forms like something, it's a big fancy word. It's called devitrification, or devit for short. A lot of people just call it scum. And oh, it's really nasty. Let me show you.
Scum.
Yeah. So here's some bases. I don't know if you can see, like, just like there's crud on the top of
Well, they look awfully pretty to me. I don't think I'd worry too much about it.
Oh, good. Well, I think the whole thing, yes, it's beautiful. But when you look close, I'm like, ew, yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. So there's different ways to fix it. So it's not ruined per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is absolutely incredible. So I have one more question. What does the kiln look like? Is it like a microwave size? Is it like the size of an oven? Is it...
Kilns come in. Can I move my phone? Do you think that would be okay? I don't want to make people sick.
You're doing awesome. I'm totally like ingrained in this. This
so
awesome.
Here for my
there it is. Okay.
Little kiln. Yeah. This was my first one. It's just a little baby kiln. It's it has a shelf, and then just in December I got this one. I actually couldn't even use it until January because we needed to get 240 whatever out to the garage, and thing. So yeah.
Ooh,
and so
So Kelly, help me explain how you're handling this. So you are selling these to wholesalers. And I like, for example, I've ordered, I can't remember, I think I said 6 or something. And you are basically, are you donating the proceeds?
I'm donating the proceeds to these, to World Central Kitchen.
Love it. It's, you know,
I know the reflection is bad. Sorry.
That's okay. We're getting the point. So that was my interest, is like how many of these things fit into the kiln. So, so we're getting a good look at you there. There you go. And so this over here, is this where you do your, is that the glass, the big giant glass pieces you were talking to me about?
Yeah. So these are my glass sheets. The big sheets are 35 inches by 20. And then it also comes in half by 2. So I have some glass storage there, and I have scraps of those totes. And I have like even smaller scraps down there. Here's all my glass frit. I have a lot of different colors to play with.
Very cool.
And this is like
sorry, Kelly, you froze. So hang on just a second.
Probably for
hang on just a second. Is this, I think probably what you're telling me is this is a grinder? Is this
this is one of my grinders. This it's like a lap wheel.
Okay.
It helps get those edges nice and sharp. I have 4 different plates, I guess you call it. Different, it's kind of like sandpaper. You know, I have to start with the coarse and then go down to the fine.
Got it. Got it. So Kelly, why don't you, you kind of froze up just a
Quick
little bit again.
edges.
So why don't you flip that camera back around so we can see your face, so we can kind of, there you are. Yay. So, I really appreciate, oops, you froze up again. So we're just going to give you a second to come back here. But this has been the most fun tour of another craft that actually kind of turnkeys right into our craft, the Needlepoint craft. I just adore it. So,
Thank you.
a couple of things I want to say. So first of all, if people are interested in purchasing your glass needle minders, you have, now that you've been to, you were at your first market in Atlanta. I'm trying to think, where were we? We were in Atlanta, and that's where we met for the first time. And so my guess is that your stockist list, I'm just going to say, those people who are now selling your needle minders has grown by leaps and bounds, would be my guess. So if people are interested in purchasing your minders, do you happen to have, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I forgot to ask you this, do you happen to have a list of stockists on your website, or?
Yep, I do. It's needle minder retailers. Yeah.
Great. So for those people who are interested, if they are interested, in fact, in purchasing one of these like amazing little works of art, we have a few. I'll be honest, I probably need to place another order before you send me my Ukraine. So don't do that. Let's be in touch first.
Okay.
But yeah, so if people are interested in collecting your art, then they can do that via that link on your site of people who are selling the minders. My guess is that you'd be open to suggestions if anybody wanted to throw some out there to you. I might be opening.
I would love that. I would love that.
I have a couple of ideas for you now that I've seen some of the ways that this can be done, but yeah, so this has been awesome. And, this is really a great reminder of how small businesses start, how they get going, who they support. Kelly, before we got on here, shared with me that she has two, are they sons? Is it two sons? I'm sorry, I didn't ask the genders.
That's okay.
In college. And so she's kind of able to be at home and help support them through her small business out of her garage, which she has so graciously given us support.
And thanks to my husband too. He has to park his Mini Cooper outside.
Oh,
now.
I wish it worked that way at my house. My husband has a fun car that he parks in our garage, and the other cars and all the other things are out in the driveway. So you're lucky. But anyhow, so I think that kind of captures Kelly's business.
I know, yeah.
And where to find her things. And I should say happy Mother's Day to you, because
to you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This episode is dropping Saturday evening, the day before Mother's Day. And so we hope that all of you mothers out there, or those who have babies or fur babies, or they are godmothers or whatever it is, you're all special to us. And we want to say happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
But if anybody has any questions, I hope that they will use the comment area on YouTube. There's a way for people to, so by the way, this is on YouTube. And once it drops, those who have subscribed to our podcast will receive a notification that there's a new episode. If you have not yet subscribed, we suggest you do so that you can keep up with what we're doing here on the podcast. But making comments underneath the video is a nice way for us to get feedback, and also maybe for Kelly to answer any more questions, because this is a very detailed, very intricate process that I am obviously very interested in, because we've been going on for quite a while now. But I'm fascinated.
Sorry.
Oh gosh, no. I really appreciate you sharing all of this information with us, and thank you for being on here. So, unless there's
thank you
anything
for
else.
having me, and I really appreciate the exposure and showing very much.
Yeah, I think
we're frozen.
I'm sorry, you froze, but I think what you just said was you appreciate the exposure, and that's something that we're hoping to do, is expose people in the industry, and we appreciate you taking time to do it. You're back now.
Show them what I can do, and so I just wanted to thank you again for the opportunity.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It is really my pleasure. So, Kelly, have a great weekend, and thanks to you all.
Too.
Thank you, and I will see you again in person, hopefully at our next market.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.